TSA warning for green card holders. Yes, you heard that right. The Transportation Security Administration is quietly tightening digital checks at U.S. airports, and green card holders are among those being targeted most often. Imagine arriving at the airport, boarding pass in hand, confident and ready to travel, when suddenly, a TSA officer asks to hand over your phone. Not your luggage, not your documents, your phone. What happens next could decide how smoothly or how badly your trip goes. Because right now, TSA agents have the legal right to inspect your phone, scroll through your apps, photos, messages, and downloads even without a warrant. And what they find inside could raise red flags you never even imagined. This isn't fear-mongering, it's already happening. Travelers, including permanent residents, have been stopped, questioned, delayed, and even flagged simply because of something saved on their phones, from private chats and memes to certain apps or images they didn't even realize were a problem. And the scariest part? You might not even know which files or apps are considered suspicious under TSA scrutiny until it's too late. That's why, in this video, I'll reveal the 5 specific things you should delete immediately from your phone before you travel. These are the hidden digital traps that can trigger extra screening, security delays, or worse, immigration complications that could put your green card status at risk. So if you're a green card holder, this is one video you cannot afford to skip. Stay tuned, because by the end, you'll know exactly what to remove and how to protect your privacy before your next trip. But before we dive into the list, do me one favor: hit that like button if you believe in protecting your rights, your privacy, and your peace of mind while traveling. Let's get started. This could save you from serious airport trouble. Now, let's talk about what's really happening at airports across the United States. Over the past year, TSA officers and Customs and Border Protection (CBP) agents have started paying far more attention to digital devices, not just passports or luggage. Your phone, tablet, and even your laptop have become open windows into your private world. And here's the thing: as a green card holder, you might assume you have the same privacy protections as any American citizen. But in reality, the border zone is a different world altogether. Within 100 miles of any U.S. border or international airport, officers can inspect your belongings, and that includes your phone, without a warrant. That's not a rumor, that's law. Imagine this: you're coming back from visiting family overseas. You're tired, jet-lagged, and you just want to get home. You hand your passport to the officer, they smile politely, then suddenly ask you to unlock your phone. It feels invasive, right? But at that moment, refusing could lead to detention or confiscation of your device. That's how much power the TSA and CBP hold at the border. Most people don't realize how much information sits inside their phones: years of photos, notes, messages, browsing histories, and social media content. To a trained officer, your phone isn't just a gadget, it's a detailed diary of who you are, who you talk to, and what you believe in. And sometimes, something as small as a meme, a screenshot, or a downloaded document can raise suspicions. Over the past few months, there have been multiple reports of travelers being pulled aside for secondary inspection simply because their phone contained politically sensitive content, explicit photos, or encrypted messaging apps. Officers don't always tell you what they're looking for. Sometimes, they just scroll. And that's where the real risk comes in. As a green card holder, you're allowed to live and work in the United States permanently, but your status is not as untouchable as citizenship. If officers find content that appears suspicious or suggests possible involvement in illegal or extremist material, even unintentionally, they can file a report that triggers further immigration review. In other words, a simple phone search could create a chain reaction that threatens your immigration record. Now, here's what most people don't realize: when you hand over your phone, officers might use special tools to extract data, even from deleted files or cloud apps. You might think deleting a message is enough, but forensic tools can recover deleted texts, photos, and histories. So when I say delete, I mean clean completely, including caches, cloud syncs, and backups. Let's break this down realistically. The first thing you should always consider before traveling is what's stored locally on your phone. If your device is full of personal content, family pictures, random downloads, private conversations, that's normal. But what's not normal is keeping potentially controversial, illegal, or misunderstood material. For example, private jokes shared in a group chat might be fine among friends, but when taken out of context by a border officer, they could look suspicious or even offensive. Another big mistake people make is storing unofficial copies of identification documents or employment records. You might think it's convenient to keep your social security card photo or your green card scan in your gallery, but at airports, it can raise red flags about identity misuse or document tampering. TSA officers are trained to question unusual storage patterns, especially when they relate to immigration documents. And then there's the issue of apps. Messaging apps like Telegram, Signal, or encrypted cloud drives aren't illegal, but they can trigger extra scrutiny because of their use in certain investigations. If you have multiple accounts or hidden folders, that alone might invite more questioning. It's not about guilt, it's about perception. And perception at the border can be everything. Let's go deeper into what actually happens during these digital inspections. Officers don't need to scroll through every file. They often use keyword searches or image recognition tools to identify specific types of content: political material, extremist keywords, or explicit imagery. That's why travelers who store screenshots, adult content, or private memes often face embarrassment or long questioning sessions. You might think, it's just my personal stuff, but from their perspective, it's evidence that needs context. Think about it: your phone tells a story. Every app, photo, and conversation adds a line to that story. The question is, what story do you want a border officer to read? Because once they start scrolling, you lose control of the narrative. Now, let's talk about why this matters right now. Post-pandemic, U.S. travel monitoring has become more digital. AI-based flagging systems are integrated into TSA databases, meaning your device's metadata, like the apps you use, languages you type in, and even your file names, can contribute to your risk profile. It sounds extreme, but it's already happening in pilot programs at several major airports. And for green card holders, that means a smaller margin for error. You don't want an innocent app or file to accidentally connect you to a flagged data pattern. That's why travelers are now being advised unofficially, of course, to sanitize their phones before crossing borders. So, when I say delete 5 things immediately, it's not just about saving storage, it's about protecting your digital fingerprint. Your phone can reveal your financial apps, your chat logs, your location history, even the kind of content you watch late at night. All of that paints a picture. And if that picture doesn't match what TSA expects, it becomes a problem. Let me give you a real-world example. A traveler returning from Dubai last year had his phone inspected because of certain videos in his downloads folder. They weren't illegal, just humorous cultural clips, but they contained political references. The officers flagged it, and although he wasn't detained, the report stayed on his immigration record. A few months later, when he applied for U.S. citizenship, that report surfaced during background checks. He eventually cleared it, but the process delayed his naturalization for almost a year. That's how serious this can get. You might not be breaking any laws, but digital misunderstandings can follow you longer than you expect. Now imagine if, during such an inspection, you had your social media accounts logged in. Officers could access your Facebook or Instagram feed, see your likes, comments, or DMs. Even old jokes, sarcasm, or politically charged posts could be misinterpreted. It's happened before, especially with dual nationals or residents coming from countries on heightened watch lists. Another overlooked issue is cloud storage. Many people forget that their Google Drive, iCloud, or Dropbox folders sync automatically. Even if you delete something from your phone, the file might still appear in your recently deleted or cloud trash folder. If an officer opens your drive and sees sensitive or irrelevant content, it's just as risky as having it locally. That's why professionals in cybersecurity recommend a travel mode. Before flying, back up everything safely to a personal computer or encrypted drive at home. Then perform a clean reset on your phone and only reinstall essential travel apps: airline tickets, maps, messaging, and one photo app. No banking, no sensitive files, no unnecessary media. Once you return, restore your backup. This way, even if your phone is inspected, there's nothing there that could cause a problem. Now, some of you might be wondering, do they really have time to check everyone's phone? Of course not. But the point is, they don't have to. Random selection is enough. You might be one of hundreds that day, but if you're picked, your phone needs to tell a clean, professional, and harmless story. And here's the psychological part. TSA officers are trained to notice behavior. If you appear nervous when they mention your phone, they'll instantly pay more attention. That's why it's important to be calm and confident. The goal isn't to hide anything illegal, it's to avoid unnecessary misinterpretation. Think of your phone like your personal suitcase. You wouldn't pack questionable items in your carry-on, right? So why leave questionable data in your phone when traveling internationally? In the digital era, your device is part of your luggage. Let's also address something most travelers overlook: messaging history. WhatsApp, Messenger, and even regular SMS hold years of conversations. Officers might not open every chat, but preview screens can reveal names, topics, and even emojis. If your chat previews show sensitive or adult jokes, it could trigger additional screening. Similarly, people often keep documents like tax returns, pay stubs, or personal records on their phones. While these aren't illegal, they raise privacy issues if an officer begins questioning where they came from or why they're stored offline. Keeping such files in your phone can blur personal and official boundaries, which immigration authorities dislike. There's also the category of gray area content: memes, short videos, or quotes that touch on politics, religion, or social issues. You might have saved them for fun, but someone scanning your gallery doesn't know that context. To them, it's just potential evidence. That's why the best practice is a pre-flight digital cleanse. Go through your gallery, your downloads, your Notes app, and ask yourself, if a stranger saw this without context, could it be misunderstood? If yes, delete it. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. The digital world is deeply tied to immigration now. Background checks often include social media screenings. Future green card renewals or citizenship applications might reference travel history logs. Your digital hygiene today could influence your immigration path tomorrow. Now let's get into the mindset part. Traveling stress often makes people careless. You might install random apps for convenience, or take screenshots of tickets, or store passwords in notes. Every one of these actions increases your digital exposure. The more data your phone carries, the higher the chance of something being flagged. And remember, officers don't see your phone like you do. To you, it's a mix of memories, apps, and chats. To them, it's an investigative device full of metadata, timestamps, connections, and behavioral patterns. They're not looking for fun, they're looking for inconsistencies. So how do you prepare? Start by asking, if my phone was inspected right now, would it tell a story consistent with my travel purpose? That's the mindset professionals use when crossing borders. For example, if you're traveling for work, your phone should reflect that emails, calendar, navigation, and communication tools relevant to your job. Anything else can stay offline until you return. We live in a time when privacy isn't about hiding secrets, it's about managing perception. And that's exactly what keeps you safe in these situations. A clean, organized, minimal phone equals fewer questions. A cluttered, mixed content device equals more curiosity from officers. You might be thinking, this sounds exhausting. And yes, it takes effort, but once you set up a travel routine, it becomes second nature. Professionals who travel often, like journalists, executives, or tech workers, already do this. They use travel phones, simple devices with minimal apps. Why? Because they've seen what can happen when data falls into the wrong hands. One more thing, your browsing history matters too. TSA agents sometimes open browsers or cached tabs. Clear your history, cookies, and saved forms before travel. If your browser auto-fills sensitive information or recently opened certain sites, that's something to consider. And while we're talking about security, always use a strong passcode, not just a fingerprint or face unlock. If an officer requests access, politely comply, but don't make it easy for someone else to misuse your phone outside that moment. The truth is, digital checks are here to stay. Governments around the world are expanding this practice under the banner of national security. The best way to protect yourself isn't to fight it, it's to prepare for it. By taking the time to clean your phone, you're protecting not just your privacy, but your peace of mind. You'll travel lighter mentally and digitally. And when an officer says, "Can I see your phone?" you'll be ready, confident, and calm. So, if you've watched this far, you already understand how crucial this is. Don't ignore it. The 5 categories we'll discuss next could make all the difference between a smooth airport experience and a stressful one. Your green card represents stability and opportunity. Don't risk it over a few forgotten files or apps. Before we move on, take a second to like this video if you've learned something valuable so far. It helps more people like you stay informed and safe while traveling. And if you've ever experienced or heard about a digital inspection at the airport, share your story in the comments. It could help someone else prepare better. Now, let's dive deeper into those 5 critical things to delete and why each one matters more than you think.